What are your thoughts, guys, on the NAR ruling? Like,
at first I was freaked out, and the more I thought about it, I was like, this actually is just going to make things easier. It's in a way, because I know we've all worked with buyers who may be serious in theory, but we've never had a piece of paper that will actually test their seriousness. Mm-hmm. And if someone's like, look, if I want to buy shoes, right? And I go into the store and they're like, well, to get the shoes, you have to sign this paper. If I'm not willing to sign that paper, I probably don't want the shoes that bad. So I think it's going to make it much easier to know who's worth spending time on, who's not. There are so many things that I think are going to be difficult when it comes to paperwork, and it's going to be a big learning curve. But from a zoomed out picture or a zoomed out perspective on it, I think it's going to be great for listing agents, and it's going to take a lot of people out of the business who rely on buyer commissions.
Have you had those conversations though? Like, what have people's feedback been that you're talking to?
Sellers or buyers?
Sellers.
I've had every listing that I've had signed in the last week, no one's brought it up.
God, how many listings did you get in the
last
last week?
In the last
That's pretty nice.
I signed two, and no one brought it up.
So
we have yet to have anyone.
I had I had people bring it up.
I don't think it's come into effect yet. So I think when it does come to effect, stand. Even at that point, the seller can still agree to pay. Of course. And I think which they should.
Most people, like, even when I talk to clients who may not be selling right now, they're like, I want to incentivize the buyer's agent. Like, why would I not?
And actually, a great spin on that is that right now, every seller typically in the listing agreement pays the buyer's agent. Okay, so it's like 4%, 5%. It's a great opportunity for a seller when you turn around to them in a listing meeting and say, listen, take advantage of this, because all the sellers or any sellers that choose not to pay the CSO, the other broker, they're actually disadvantaging themselves.
100%.
So now you can put yourself in as an advantage against those people, which 100%. You couldn't before.
100%. Just by doing what you should, what we're all doing.
It's great. This is like a great opportunity, Jack.
I think any seller that doesn't want to incentivize the buyer's agent is going to have dramatic repercussions from doing so, because if you have a buyer and they're looking at 3 potential properties, ultimately they're looking to their real estate expert who, might be a friend or who they hired in order to guide them through the process.
Who is not going to work for free.
Who's not going to work for free. Correct. And who's not going to push the property, most likely, that's not offering a compensation for that. So I really think, sellers should seriously consider, maybe even upping it to really put them above.
Yeah, let's just get it to 6%.
I like that.
Honestly, even like we're actually showing a house right after this, and they're offering 3%, and it's not that we weren't going to show the house to the buyer's agent. And it's not we weren't going to show the house if they weren't offering 3%, but it just incentivizes you a bit more. So
it stands out to you as an agent to be thinking about that, to give it more time.
And it means that they're more serious of sellers.
Correct.
And they're there to make a deal happen. We just did a deal. I'm not going to mention the building. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but they're, offering a 3.5% commission. And
that was a good deal, guys.
Thank you. I heard you guys had the buyer in escrow before us.
The bottom line is, I think as agents today, we have to control the narrative.
Yeah,
100%.
I think if you don't control the narrative, if you're not an expert in the field, if you're not someone that knows how to control the narrative, you're going to lose the deal.
100%.
And I think Nicole's right. Being a listing agent is going to be advantageous, but I think you also, as a listing agent, need to tell your seller you can't decentivize the outside broker. Factor it into the price.
Exactly.
Factor it into your number, and nothing has changed. Yes, they've changed the rules that have been in place for 100 years, but you can still offer whatever you want as far as a commission. So control that narrative so that you don't derail the process.
They're just trying to just control. It's really just detrimental to the market between wildlife, this new NAR ruling. But my number one thing I disapprove of is this ULA, because
it's ridiculous.
People don't realize it's not a percentage on the gain. So if you buy something for 10 and sell it for 12, you're not paying a 5% on the $2 million net. You're paying it on even if you buy something for 50 and sell it for 40 and take a $10 million loss, you're still paying the 5%.
It's ridiculous.
So it affects commercial.
It affects everybody.
It actually affects commercial horribly.
And what people,
because it's a lot more expensive and it's a lot more money.
But what the problem is yes, it's 5%, but that's 5% of the gross.
Correct.
So really, when people are putting down, you're buying a building for $100 million and you're putting down $25 million and you go to sell it for $110 million, you're paying 5% on the total. So now your $110 million profit goes to a $3 million profit. So really, it's like a 30% tax.
Well, I really believe it's going to get
Overturned.
I mean, in November, everyone listening,
Please God.
make sure to vote for, however they try to trick you, make sure you're voting for the Government Accountability Act. Because if we get that voted in, then we get to vote again on ULA the following year. I think the only reason we do have this chance is because the city's not making the money that they thought they would. And they probably realized that they didn't think anything through. Nothing about it makes sense.
No, they literally did not think
It's
it
like
through.
it's so no one in real estate
bad.
actually thought about the rules of this. It's so clear how stupid it is. And also, let's not forget the fact that people who inherit a $5 million house they're not mansions. And it's not a mansion here, unfortunately. And like it's the same with NAR. Like what rules might apply in the middle of America are very different in a luxury market like New York, LA, Miami.
And it's so bad as the way it's so badly thought out that it actually makes more sense for the buyer to pay the ULA, right? And lower the purchase price and lower their property tax,
Exactly.
right?
100%.
And everyone nets the same, you know what I mean? So it's just like that's how badly thought out it is, basically. Like it doesn't.
There was no thought.
It's a mess, but anyhow, we will continue. So follow
But the market
Nicole's,
stays strong.
Then market stays strong, and we'll follow Nicole's advice.
And don't forget as well, sorry, Jim, to interrupt,
problem.
but if we've got ULA against us right now, and we've got these commissions against us right now, and we've got high interest rates right now, and we're all still crushing it, i.e., you
things are
just guys
still-
close a big deal. Imagine it's not if, it's when interest rates go down, and the bonus of ULA getting repealed. If it does, great. It's gonna blow up. Like we are
100%.
gonna go from there to like there. It's gonna be amazing.
100%.
So I'm all about that.
Also, the last
Yes.
thing I will say, like, I'm representing the buyer and seller on a deal right now, and it has me thinking, like, no one's going to do that for 2.5%.
No.
Oh my God, it is
Double
so
M, yeah,
much
forget it.
work.
No way, yeah.
And it's intense.
Well, you will, but people that aren't probably as good, and they're gonna do a.
I just
You know,
don't.
you pay peanuts, you get whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
But
that
like
kind
they're
of
trying
thing.
to stop
Pennywise,
dual
pound
agency,
foolish.
and
Yes,
this encourages
exactly.
it. You know, like how is this supposed to? Like they want to take away dual agency. NAR does.
I'm not just saying this. I, as a seller, knowing you guys, would rather pay 5%, knowing you guys are my listing agents,
Correct.
than 2.5% to some
For
Joe
sure.
Schmo that doesn't know what they're doing,
But
and
a lot
that's
of
the
people
kind
don't
of
get that.
agent they're
That's
going
You're
to
it.
get.
sacrificing way more than 2.5% in value you're
Yes.
losing than you
Correct.
are with the
Yeah.
commission you're paying.
It's a matter of time before people start to realize that, and things change, and sellers will have to become more reasonable.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're good.